All right, so you're trying to wrap your head around unemployment in Ireland, and you've got a ton of information to sort through.
Yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into all of it and extract the key takeaways.
And it's fascinating how Ireland approaches this. Did you know they consider 96.4% employment to be full employment?
96.4%.
Really?
It might sound a little strange, but it really highlights that there's always some movement in the job market.
So there's always going to be some people unemployed, even in a good economy.
Exactly. Think of it like a city with people moving in and out all the time. Some are coming, some are going, some are just switching apartments.
Right.
That's kind of like frictional unemployment. People transitioning between jobs or maybe retraining or just taking a break before their next opportunity. It's natural in a healthy economy.
Okay, so that makes sense. But what about those people stuck in jobs that don't use their skills,
Ah, you're talking about underemployment.
where someone's skills and abilities aren't fully utilized? And our sources highlight this as an issue in Ireland. Imagine a highly skilled engineer working as a barista.
Wow.
That's a loss for everyone.
Huge loss, yeah. Okay, so we've talked about full employment, frictional unemployment, and underemployment. But before we go too far, what exactly do we mean by the labor force and the unemployment rate?
Sure. The labor force basically means everyone who's currently working or actively looking for work. It doesn't include folks who are retired or students or just not looking.
Right, so it's the pool of people who are actually in the game. And the unemployment rate is just the percentage of those people who don't have a job.
Yes, exactly. It's a key indicator of how the economy is doing overall. But remember, it's just a snapshot. Doesn't always tell the whole story. Someone who's given up looking after months of searching, they wouldn't be included.
That's a great point. Okay, so our sources talk about different types of unemployment, each with its own causes. Can we unpack those a bit?
Definitely.
Hmm.
We talked about frictional unemployment, that natural churn. But there's also structural unemployment, which is a bit more concerning.
Okay.
That's when there's a mismatch between the skills people have and what employers need.
So it's not just that people are between jobs, it's more like a gap in what's needed.
Yeah, exactly. And there are examples of this in Ireland, like in construction.
Oh, really?
They need workers skilled in retrofitting homes for better insulation, but there aren't enough builders who can do that.
So there are unemployed builders, but not the right kind.
Exactly. Classic structural unemployment.
Interesting. What other types of unemployment are there?
Well, there's seasonal unemployment tied to things like tourism,
Yeah, makes sense.
hotel workers out of jobs in the off season, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's institutional unemployment, which is a little more complex.
Okay, what makes that one complex?
It comes from things that prevent people from working even if they want to.
Oh, I see.
One example is a lack of affordable housing near where the jobs are.
So they can't afford to live where the work is.
Right. It's not just individual circumstances, it's the larger systems creating barriers. Sobering stuff.
Yeah, it is. Now that we have a handle on the types of unemployment, what causes these situations to arise in the first place?
Well, it's a whole bunch of things, really. Our sources mentioned a bunch of factors that contribute to unemployment in Ireland. Global stuff, technology, even government policies.
So it's not just one thing causing all of this, it's a lot of different factors all mixed up together.
Exactly. One key thing they mentioned is frictions in the labor market.
Friction.
Yeah, basically it means that matching people with the right jobs isn't always easy or quick.
Like a dating app for jobs, but way more important.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sometimes it's geography.
Ah, okay.
Like our builder in Cavan. Needs work, but the jobs are in Dublin.
I see.
Or maybe there's not enough information about what jobs are out there.
Right.
That skilled engineer might be looking in the wrong places while a company desperately needs her.
And I'm guessing technology makes things even more complicated.
For sure. Our sources talk about how automation and AI are changing things so fast. Some jobs disappear, others need skills. People haven't had time to learn.
So it's like the rules of the game are constantly changing.
Yeah, and that's where structural unemployment pops up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't forget about the economy as a whole.
Right.
Recessions, global trade, even just uncertainty about the future. Businesses hesitate to hire, and that slows down job creation.
So it's a mix of individual things, technology stuff, and how the whole economy is doing. Unemployment isn't just a problem for one person. It's a reflection of all these bigger forces.
Absolutely. It's a whole societal challenge.
Yeah.
Speaking of different perspectives, let's look at how Ireland actually measures unemployment.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because it seems like there are different ways to look at it.
Right.
And our sources mention something called the live register. What's that all about?
Well, it's basically a count of everyone who's getting unemployment benefits.
Yep.
It gives us an idea of how many people are officially asking for help, but it also includes people who are working part-time.
Oh, so they're getting benefits, but also working.
Yeah. So they're technically employed, but they're still on the live register.
So the live register doesn't show exactly how many people are fully unemployed.
Right. More like how many are getting government help. Then there's the Quarterly National Household Survey, QHNS for short.
Okay.
It surveys households to get a picture of employment at a certain time.
Sounds useful.
It is, but it relies on people telling the truth about their situation.
So if someone is working, like, under the table but still getting benefits?
They wouldn't show up as unemployed in that survey.
I got it.
To get a more complete picture, Ireland also uses the Labor Force Survey, or LFS.
And what's different about that one?
It's a lot bigger and more detailed, looks at work history, education, reasons for being unemployed, more reliable, but also harder to do.
Okay, so it's like a high-definition picture versus a blurry one.
Exactly. And it's super important to understand these differences when you look at the unemployment numbers. They can be misleading if you don't know how they got those numbers.
It's like being a detective. Gotta look for the real story. So let's talk about what unemployment actually does. It's obviously bad for people who lose their jobs, but what about the whole economy?
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting. When people lose jobs, they have less money to spend,
Of course.
less demand for goods and services, businesses suffer, the whole economy slows down.
So it's a chain reaction. One person loses their job, it hits a bunch of businesses, and then the whole economy.
Exactly. And if it goes on too long, it can cause deflation, which is when prices start going down.
Lower prices sound good, though.
Well, at first maybe,
Yeah.
but it can discourage businesses from investing, people stop spending, and then the economy just stagnates.
It's like a downward spiral.
And then there's the government side of things.
Oh, right.
More people out of work, more people need benefits.
Yeah.
At the same time, less people are working, so less taxes are being paid.
Double trouble for the government then.
Yeah, they have to increase taxes on the people who are still working.
Oof.
And they might have to cut back on services or delay important projects.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it can lead to social unrest. And of course, there's the social side of things.
Right. The human impact.
Unemployment can lead to health problems, more crime, just a general feeling of hopelessness.
So it's not just numbers, it's real people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, what can be done about all of this?
Yeah, what is Ireland doing to fight unemployment?
Well, they're doing a bunch of things, actually. One thing is encouraging people to start businesses.
So instead of waiting for jobs, create their own.
Exactly. Help startups and small businesses create new jobs from scratch, give them access to money, mentors, things like that.
Trying to grow the economy from the bottom up. And what about government policies? Do they help or hurt job creation?
They play a big role. One thing our sources talk about is cutting taxes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Give people more money to spend, make it easier for businesses to hire,
So a win-win for everyone.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And attracting foreign investment is important too.
Yeah, bring in new businesses.
Ireland has been pretty good at that. They keep their corporate tax rate low, brings in new industries, new jobs.
Smart. But what about people who are already unemployed? How do they get back to work?
There are some things for that too.
Yeah.
One is subsidizing extra labor.
So it's cheaper for businesses to hire more people.
Right. Encourages them to expand, give opportunities to people who've been unemployed.
So it helps both sides, the workers and the businesses.
Exactly. Another thing is investing in education and training.
Oh, I see. Give people the skills employers need.
Right. Match up what's being taught with the jobs that are actually out there.
So people can adapt to whatever happens in the future.
Exactly. It's all about giving people the tools and support they need to navigate the job market and be successful.
So it's like a multi-pronged attack on unemployment, hitting it from all sides.
Right.
Is there one thing that works best? Or is it more like all these different pieces have to work together?
That's a good question. And I think it shows just how complex this whole thing is.
Right.
There's no one perfect solution that will just make unemployment disappear.
Yeah.
Each thing has pros and cons. And whether it works or not depends on a lot of stuff. What's going on in that particular industry, what the overall economy is doing, things like that.
So it's like a custom solution for each situation.
Yeah, got to figure out the right mix of things depending on what's happening in Ireland.
Always adapting, changing things up.
Exactly. The job market never sits still, always changing, evolving, and we got to keep up with it, try new things, see what works.
Always learning and experimenting.
Exactly. And maybe the biggest takeaway is this. Unemployment isn't just about the economy. It's about people.
Right. It's about real people and their lives.
Those numbers on the spreadsheets, those graphs, they represent real stories. People struggling to pay bills, take care of their families, just feel good about themselves.
It's easy to forget that when you're just looking at the numbers.
You got to remember that. Approach this with empathy. Try to find solutions that work for everybody.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We defined all the terms, looked at the different types of unemployment, figured out what causes it, even how it's measured. It's definitely complicated.
Yeah, it's a tough issue. But we also looked at what Ireland is doing about it, encouraging new businesses, investing in education, making it easier for companies to hire. A lot of different approaches all at once.
It seems like the key is to have a plan, but also be ready to adapt.
For sure. And as we finish up, I just want to say, understanding this stuff is really important. Knowing how unemployment works, all the different factors involved, helps us make better decisions.
Yeah, for ourselves and for the whole country.
It's all connected. And it reminds us that everyone has a role to play in tackling unemployment. The choices we make, how involved we are in our communities, even who we vote for.
Yeah.
Stay informed, ask tough questions, and support policies that create good jobs.
That's how we build a future where everyone can succeed. So as you keep learning about this, keep digging deeper. Don't take anything for granted. And always remember, behind the statistics are real people. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.